Hi everyone, my name is Lynn, and today we're going to be looking at the TimeKettle X1. This is a device that was just released this year. It earned quite a bit of splash at the Consumer Electronics Show as being an AI-powered translator hub for business purposes. A little background on myself. I am a healthcare provider. I serve patients who have diverse backgrounds. This piqued my curiosity specifically because I wanted to find a better way to help my patients where English is not their primary language. So, a little bit more information about this specific product. This was just released this year. This is a device that can be a standalone device that works in a variety of different modes, and we'll get into that in a moment. But as you can see here, it's shipped in a very attractive box overall. Compartment containing the actual device. This is the X1, as well as earbud tips, as well as the adapter for the wraparound for the earbuds itself to maintain its place. This little guy is going to be the brains of the entire operation. Here you also have a built-in compartment for the earbuds, which also serves as a charging station for the earbuds themselves. This is actually pretty cool. On the very bottom, you can see that there is a USB-C type port for charging. On the very top of the device, you see that there is an NFC capable touch area, so that several owners of the X1 hub can simply link their devices together so that way they can enjoy the translating services in a variety of different modes. For example, big meeting modes. On the very side, you have a standard power button as well as a volume rocker. Overall, this is a very simple looking device. This button right here is a touch capacitive button, very similar to the iPhones of lore with the Touch ID. Very intuitive. Overall, it feels very nicely made. It feels very premium. The material looks good. Overall, this is a very small, compact device. As you can see here, I can hold it in my hands very easily. It's not something I would probably put in my pocket. It is a little bit too thick for that. As we power on this device by pushing the power button, I've already fully charged it. You can see that we're going to be greeted by a really attractive screen. It is a responsive touch screen. It's quite clear, easy to read, and it has a very short loading time, which is very much appreciated. So you can kind of start up and go relatively quickly. Once we get to the UI, you'll see that it is a very simplistic UI, very easy to use, large buttons, and the things that are most interesting are going to be loud and front and center. For example, right here, you can see the different modes that we can use. Now, special note here is that the first three modes that you can see are the ones that we can use with one single standalone device. These other modes right here at the very end, for example, right here and right here, these two modes require several devices in order to utilize these modes. For example, this one is a voice call system, so you would have to call another person who has a similar device. And then this one is a system where several people can engage in a meeting by simply, again, tapping that top NFC to link together. And then finally, we have settings. At the top, you can see very simple icons demonstrating the charge status and the battery status of the device, as well as the earbuds. Really nice, I like that a lot. Also on top of that as well, you can also see Wi-Fi status. As you can see right now, it is connected to my home Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi, why do we even have that in the first place? It's useful for updating the software on the device as well as the firmware on the earbuds. In addition to that too, you can also download language packs essentially for offline translation. All right, let's go into the modes specifically themselves. This device has three modes that we can go ahead and try right now. And for my purposes and what I'm going to be doing, that's all I really wanted. I wanted to use these first three modes for the most part. One-on-one, so that I could interact with patients or other people in a professional setting by handing them an earbud, and I would have one myself, and just have a free-flowing conversation that seems a little bit more natural. Rather than handing a device back and forth one to one another, kind of like the way one would do now with something like Google Translate, where you would hand a phone back and forth. Really neat. You do not need to have the A1 hub, this actual big brick itself, in that process. You would just simply have it on the table and you would just be talking through naturally, and the earbuds would do picking up of the voices, the hub would do the translation, and then subsequently transmit the translated phrases to the recipient. Awesome. That's really my main interest with this device. That's really why I pulled the trigger on the purchase. This right here is going to be the listen mode. Essentially what this is allows for one to be more passive in a professional setting. So if you were participating in a meeting in a different language, you could have this device sitting in the middle of said meeting between speakers. You could put the earbuds in, and essentially the device would listen in on the conversation and then provide direct translation to you. Pretty awesome. And then finally, the last thing, screen up. The last mode that we have here is the ask and go mode. And this is a little bit more of the traditional passing the device back and forth. You're not using the earbuds, just in case you have people that are a little bit more squeamish about potentially passing germs, earbuds back and forth. I could see that being a concern. This mode allows us just to simply use this as a microphone and interpretation device. You would push onto the button, you would speak into it, and then you'd hand the device back to the other person. One cool thing about this is that the screen itself does provide on-the-fly translation, so not only can you hear it, you can also actually read it too. You can see whether or not your statements are accurate, and then the receiver of the spoken phrases would be able to then see and read those phrases before it's even been read back to them too. The device itself does have 20 gigabytes of onboard storage for those language packs that I mentioned before. You can always free up extra memory by just simply going into the settings, into the storage settings, and then deleting any downloaded language packs that you don't need. In general, each individual language pack is roughly about 400 to 500 megabytes. Based on what I've seen here. So it won't take too much before you fill this device up, considering all the different combinations. When I say language packs, it really is the distinction. Each individual pack is a distinction between interpreted languages. For example, a Japanese to Chinese would be its own language pack. A French to English would be its own language. It's not just French, it's not just Chinese, it's not just Japanese. So what is this device exactly like to use? I was quite excited to get this device. I brought it to work with me the day after I received it because at work, I work with a diverse group of colleagues who speak a multitude of different languages. For example, Spanish, French, Arabic, Tamil, Vietnamese. I thought that if there's one place that I could put this device through its paces, it would be definitely at work. And what I found in general, regardless of mode that I use, the more commonly spoken languages, this device handled extremely well. However, when broached with a language that perhaps less common, for example, like Tamil or Vietnamese, sometimes this device struggled a little bit, and it varied upon modes. The mode that I was most excited about was the one-on-one mode, which allows us to have seamless conversation between one person and another just by using earbuds. No device passed between two people. And on top of that too, one of the things that was advertised was that you could have simultaneous translation. What that essentially comes down to is you could speak at the same time on top of each other, like if you were arguing was the example that they gave. And it would do on-the-fly interpretation. In real life practice, I found that to not really work out well, regardless of language used. In addition to that too, I found that the earbuds themselves seem to lack a little bit of that sensitivity to pick up voices. So a lot of my partners who I was conversing with, a lot of times what they said simply was not picked up by the microphone and therefore not interpreted. What was neat though was that when we were doing the translations and conversing, you can see the actual text and the subsequent translation on the screen. So if you're hard of hearing or what have you, you can actually still use the screen and read it as a way of participating in the conversation, which I thought was pretty neat. The other thing that I noted too was that in my specific device, there might have been a manufacturer defect. The right side of the earbud, it simply just stopped working about 3 sentences in. So if you had an exchange, by the time the 3rd sentence rolled around, no matter what you said, that earbud just stopped picking up. So didn't really work out for me. So the most exciting feature for me didn't work, which was a little heartbreaking actually. The next mode we have is the listen and play mode. This is something that I didn't think I would use too much, but you know, it's worthwhile to test. So I had 2 different people having a conversation in Spanish. I put the device in between them and I try to listen in with their permission, of course, no spying. One issue that I ran into was the delay. Once a conversation really was underway, there was about a 10 to 15 second delay before anything was actually transmitted to my earbud. Looking at the screen itself, I could see that the words were being populated and a translation was underway. However, nothing really transmitted till way later. As a result of that, you could really feel out of place and really out of the loop in the middle of that meeting. Not only that, but a lot of what was picked up was inaccurate. A lot of the translations were completely incomprehensible. I had no idea what was going on. So I found myself at a quandary. I had to pause my participants often and ask them to slow down even more, which is really hard to do naturally because once in a heated discussion of any kind where there's a lot of back and forth going on, this device really wouldn't be able to handle it. As far as the ask and go mode, that probably was the most reliable mode, where you spoke into the microphone on the device itself and handed it back and forth to each other. I expected that because it's been done before. We do that right now with our cell phones. We can simply load up Google Translate or whatever translate app you want, and you can pass your phone back and forth to each other, and it works pretty well. So I kind of expected that with this, and for the most part, it did not disappoint. At $700, the X1 Interpreter Hub is not for the faint of heart. At that price point, it's aimed for much more professional use. However, let's go ahead and take a look at it in terms of value. If this was something that could be used in a professional setting, in a business setting, among multiple individuals, and worked reasonably well at 95% accuracy or better, I would say that it would likely save money and increase productivity overall. However, it simply does not do that. So when we look at other products that are offered by TimeKettle, for example, the WT2 Edge real-time translator earbuds, you have similar language processing and translating capabilities at pretty much half the price. So looking at that, one has to wonder really at that point, how do I justify the cost of the X1? All right, so let's talk about the overall pros and cons and my overall impression of this device. Pros, I really like the design. It's really well made. It feels very solid. It's a small device. I like the innovative feature where the earbuds are inside the actual device itself, less things to lose. I also like that it charges the earbuds and it displays the charge. Overall, the UI, really well done too. The touchscreen, very responsive. And then the ability to do offline translation, really cool. I think that this device overall on paper and in concept is a really great idea and a great concept. However, I think in terms of execution, I think that this device has a little bit more to go. I feel that it's a little undercooked and perhaps a bit rushed. This device overall seems to perform under my expectations and certainly under the average highs 95% accuracy claim. In all scenarios that we used it, whether it was ask and go or one-on-one translation or even just passive listening in, it was not even close to 95% accurate regardless of the language that you chose. And we did try to change it up in terms of how we did things, speaking louder, slower, shouting, whispering, changing environments. It didn't make a large enough impact where I could feel that I could use this device confidently. More often than not, we were left more frustrated trying to troubleshoot it than we were actually just having a conversation, which is the point of this device. So for me, I felt like it wasn't really worth it. My specific device had a defect where the right earbud just simply disconnected or just didn't pick up any speech after a few sentences. So overall, on that aspect, not really useful. The last thing I want to touch upon is the customer service and business practices. This product at this price point is something that you're not just simply buying a product, you are actually buying into the company itself. Now, I must warn you, my device, as I mentioned before, arrived defective. All attempts to reach out to customer service and get a refund, knowing that this device is simply not going to perform at the level I needed to perform at, was met with pretty significant stonewalling, excuses, condescension, and then outright refusal to accept responsibility. To date, they still refuse to refund my purchase with return shipping, despite their guarantees online. So in terms of usability, relative value, and customer service, and business practices, I would have to say that this device is a firm avoid. And there we have it. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope that this helps somebody out there. I just realized that at the time of this posting, there was no other review on this device. So I hope it is beneficial. Please forgive me for the amateurish production quality of this. This is just not my job. This is not what I do. I'm not really good at it. I just wanted to spread the word and just kind of hopefully help somebody with their decision to purchase or not on this product. Thank you. Have a great day.